Sanchez to the show. The new managing director of Diversified Partners, which is a Scottsdale-based commercial real estate firm. This firm has over 5,000 properties that are ready to be leased, developed, and sold next year, with more than 4 billion in transactions slated for 2026. And I need to add, it's commercial real estate. Sanchez represents one of the few Hispanics to lead a major real estate brokerage firm. As a Latino, he has expertise in the Hispanic real estate and has been an advisor for the International Council of Shopping Centers, specifically in their Emerging Markets Initiative. And he has also consulted on numerous international deals. Before joining Diversified Partners, Stan served as the Senior Vice President at Colliers and was previously President and partner of one of Arizona's largest retail brokerage firms. In that role, he managed more than 200 retail listings, executed over 3,000 lease transactions, and closed more than 200 escrows. Now reshaping Diversified Partners strategy with a newly launched investment sales team, Sanchez will focus our conversation on how he will be refueling the redevelopment of Phoenix, Arizona across the metropolitan area and how this reflects real estate trends nationwide. Once again, help me in welcoming Stan Sanchez to the show. We're very happy to have him on today. Hey Stan, welcome to the Latinx Business Podcast Show. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very good. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I just thought I said morning, but it's afternoon where you're at, right? I'm in Los Angeles, Whittier, California, and you're out in Phoenix. I know it's like afternoon over there. So, but yes, thank you for coming on the show. I know that it's your time is very valuable, so I do appreciate that. But yeah, let's get right into the questions. Tell me, what is your preferred pronoun?
He.
He and him. So we'll address you as he, him. And the first question I do want to address with you is, you're one of the very few Hispanics leading a major brokerage firm in the U.S. What has that been like for you? Talk to us about that journey and how did you get there?
Well, it's been a very, very unique and exciting experience to kind of break some stereotypes, what these managing directors look like and who they are and where they come from.
Yeah.
That has been really, really fun for me because the fact that I was in the brokerage world for several decades before I took the first managing director or presidential job, it gave me kind of a leg up on what to expect, and it also let everybody know in our region who I was and what I was about. I have done a lot of leasing and sales in the Hispanic market in the Metro Phoenix area in Arizona. In my prior activities at Colliers, I was involved in quite a few other international activities as well. So it's been a great journey. Really, the thing that probably sticks out the most to me is trying to elevate everybody else to what Hispanic culture really looks like and how they can reap the benefit of getting involved with Hispanics, because we're a different group of people than the rest of them. So it's really been exciting. It's been a great journey, and I've had a lot of really good support from inside of the Hispanic community and outside.
No, that's great. That's great to hear because I feel like we are a very unique market, right? So, and there's also a lot of cultural differences, or, you always want to get to know the person that you're working or doing business with, right? Before you transact business with them. I think that, even for myself, there's been times where I'm reached out to on like social media platforms. It's just random people. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they come from. I know why they're reaching out to me, right? They want business. They want to cash in on something, but I'm not willing to like talk to someone if I don't know who they are or if someone hasn't recommended them to me, right? Or if they don't truly understand like where I'm coming from. So no, thanks for being in that position and also like leading the way, because there's also, I feel like, yeah, I get it. People want to make business at the end of the day, but also like, let's just be a little bit more humane about it, you know?
And sometimes that has an effect on people that are not. And so I would always say to somebody that would give me, say something about, oh, you're speaking Spanish, and I would just respond to, well, I'm so sorry that you can't. and then you only speak one language because it offers me the opportunity to do something different than everybody else. And that's big for a guy like me. I have a lot of Hispanics that work for my company, Diversified Partners now. So it's a really unique opportunity for me and for the other folks at Diversified Partners, for our clients as well.
Yeah, and a lot of Latinos are opening up businesses and they are owners of these physical properties. And you guys work a lot with commercial real estate, right? So, and even like just here in Los Angeles alone, there's so many individuals that are. I can think of two examples right off the top of my head. Like the building I'm in actually is owned by a Latino, by a gentleman who his whole family migrated from Mexico, right? Here, and they're super successful. But even one of my friends' mom, she owns like two retail, like liquor stores, right? And she only speaks Spanish. And they've owned them for like, I think 20 years, the liquor stores, right? So I think aside from feeling comfortable in that, in your native language of being spoken to in Spanish, you also want to make an informed decision, right? I go back to like thinking about like, it's not just about feeling comfortable in speaking your own native language. It's about knowing that you're making the right financial decision or business decision as a business owner or as a leader, right? Because I don't want to make a decision that's going to affect my business negatively or then end up owing, or because I make a decision, now I owe like 100,000 more in taxes or whatnot, right? Like, I think that's really where it comes down to when it makes sense. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I think like everything comes down to like, money, right? And money makes the world go round. But I also think that like, being culturally sensitive means that like, yeah, you're in a large area where there's a lot of Hispanics, a lot of Latinos and Latinas, and like knowing the Spanish language is very important, right?
In the Metro Phoenix market,
Mm-hmm.
there is only a handful like truly bilingual brokers. And so that really gives us a leg up in communications. We have many varieties of different asset classes, whether they're in the restaurant business, whether they're in the clothing business, or they're operating a facility that is specific to helping Hispanics move forward in the marketplace or what's going on in the world today. But it really has been a very unique benefit, and I've tried to leverage it as much as I can. And I've also really brought my teams along to be able to leverage those items. Young lady that's Cuban that works in my team as well, worked for me for 4 years, and then I have 5 other brokers. None of them are bilingual, but they all are Hispanic by surname, and so it really is a benefit. Arizona has a 40% Hispanic population, and I tell everybody we are the fastest growing demographic in the market. We will at one point in time in the next decade get to probably almost a 50% ratio in Arizona. And so that has to be taken into consideration. Not only are we that by the tenants, but we are also going to increase like you mentioned, the ownership of properties and how they're taken care of. And then folks like myself that have worked our way up and become, leaders in our community. And so I think it's very, very important. And I'm very attached to my Hispanic culture. That's for sure.
Yeah, and even right now, you mentioning that makes me think about like value of properties, right? Oh, like they go up, right? They're meant to go up. So more and more properties are being owned by the largest demographic that's growing most rapidly in the US. So if you really think about financially what that means, right? Like more and more Hispanics are going to own more land that is worth more. So why wouldn't you want to cater to us? Why wouldn't you want to cater to that population? Why wouldn't you want to say like, hey, maybe I'm going to implement like or pay for like Spanish courses for my employees to take? And, I know maybe they're not native speakers, but it's important for them to know like all the real estate terms in Spanish because they need to be able to communicate with the sellers and the buyers and stuff like that, right? Or the lessees.
They're missing part of the overall macroeconomics because they can't do that. And so I think that frustrates people. The bottom line is that is something that's going to continue to happen. You can't stop it. the economic demographics, the social economic demographics are going to continue to change. You know, Hispanics as a group are growing. They're not only growing in populace, they're growing in strength. They're continuing this growth process and taking advantage of all of the items that are available there. And so, if you don't get on board, you get left behind. It's kind of like the AI generation. If you don't continue to use it or don't start to use it, then you're going to get left behind. If you have 410 people that are Hispanic, and they may not all be bilingual, but they are certainly bicultural. Most of us are very, very proud of where we came from, who our grandparents were, who our fathers and mothers are. It's very important. So I try to use that, help our team have that opportunity to leverage that economic.
Awesome. And so tell me a little bit, looking back on your own personal path, from Colliers to Diversified Partners, what was the pivotal moment that shaped your career, right?
Well, I've had a number of careers. I come from a very entrepreneurial family, so both on Sanchez side, which is the father's side, of course, and then my mother's side, on the Franco's side. Okay. Both of them have a deep Hispanic background. Yeah. And both of those grandfathers were very, very entrepreneurial. So at an early age, and from my father as well, I started to learn about what it was like to be an entrepreneur, what it was like to be an owner, the difficulties that you run into. It's not easy to own a business. It's not easy to take care of it all and be in charge of it all. So I learned at a very early age, and that kind of has driven me through my career to continue along that entrepreneurship. There's a very large difference between a company like Diversified Partners, which I'm currently involved with, and then I was at Colliers for over a decade. Colliers is an incredible company, one of the third largest real estate firms in the world, international, very, very different format, very, very different culture, and so those big companies, they try to leverage culture inside of their big companies, but they don't. I'm not so sure that they do a great job of it because of how big they are, and then who their employees are, who their brokers are, what the infrastructure looks like. I don't think there's a managing director of an office or a region in Colliers USA that is actually run by a Hispanic. So the difference between working for a couple like that, don't get me wrong, Colliers was very good for me for that decade plus. But this Diversified Partner, the move to it was one of the reasons is the culture of this company is way, way different than the culture of one of these big, huge firms. Believe it or not, even though it's run by a family whose last name is Brown, they are also Hispanics. Walt Brown, current owner of Diversified Partners, comes from a family. His mother's last name was Garcia. They were from Albuquerque, Nuevo Mexico. And so their culture that they've created has a component to it that kind of entails and really looks back on the Hispanic culture of having that kind of family-owned business, being directly involved on a day-to-day basis, and really taking care of the people that work for you, both on for economic reasons and for cultural reasons. So I think that's one of the big variances for a company like Diversified Partners. And we're a very large company for what we do in Phoenix, Arizona. We also do work in states that are attached to Arizona and across the nation. And so the cultural aspect of working for a business that's family owned and family operated and has that feeling to it was something that was really important to me in the next journey in my career.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, corporate America versus a mom and pop shop, and a mom and pop shop can be as big as, I think the SBA defines it as under 500 employees. A small business it's still pretty big, but by definition, it's technically small. But yeah, you know what? I think that even some studies have shown that larger companies tend to lose a lot of culture because it gets very protocol driven and for efficiency purposes.
It's very diluted. They try. They would send out an email, hey, this is Hispanic month. This, covering all of what's going on in today's, but they really don't. There would be calls coming to the front desk. They'd have to send them to me. You have 80 brokers in an office, and no one could respond. And so, that was something that maybe they should have worked on a little bit more. Although they did have incredible Hispanics working inside of their company in Phoenix and inside of their company at large.
Yeah.
But they just some of the stuff maybe got overlooked a little bit. So being involved with a small company like this is really, really a completely different mindset and feels a lot different.
Yeah.
On a feeling level.
Right. And so with Diversified Partners, what would be like some of the like strategies or that they employ in terms of like being able to take these type of cultural moments and actually implement them within the organization?
Well, we see it in our relationship with our clients. We are tenant reps for several large businesses that are in Arizona and in California. And so, we have that relationship because of who we are as a company and how we operate. We can then address the issues that our tenants require.
Yeah.
And that might be, hey, you don't put one of those locations in these types of areas. You may look to put them in a certain type of area for economic growth, but you also want to access all of the ability activities that you can as a client. So us helping our clients make the transition into other locations is really, really important because of our diverse ideas and the way that we are able to look at what's going on in the macro Arizona market and custom tailor some of that activity to help, our tenants, whether they're Hispanic tenants and want to get into the markets for everybody, or it's in reverse. It's, the people that are in the market for everybody want to have a deeper dive in with Hispanics. We're a development movement. So we go out and we purchase a piece of land. We then entitle it. We then turn it into the things that we're going to do. It might have a McDonald's, and it might have a Chipotle in it. It might have a tenant that's very, very specific to just the Hispanic market. So we have a really diverse mindset in order to achieve economics for our company and economics for our tenants.
Okay, no, I like that because you guys take a cultural approach to like every project that you guys take on. So then in terms of your leadership style, what would you call your leadership style within the organization? And how would you say, what is your leadership approach or what? Yeah.
Well, I'm known as a people guy. So I'm one of these folks that I have the ability to speak to people, get information from them that is needed.
Yeah.
And the approach that I use is I'm in the office every day. I'm an 8 to 5 guy. I'm available all the time. And I don't carry a stick. I have a very soft approach when needed. And if I need to have a different approach, then that can be used too. One of the questions that I'd like to get to as well is I've had some incredible mentors, both inside of from the Hispanic culture and outside. And I've learned a lot utilizing those type, mentors who can been able to say, hey, this is the way I do it. And then I take those items that they like to use, and maybe I just kind of mix them up a little bit and pour them back out so that they work for me and at the moment. We have an ever-changing landscape of real estate, and so you have to be very nimble. You have to create dialogue with everybody, and you have to then be able to kind of work your way through the problems. One of the things that the Hispanic culture, I think, truly it really enables everybody to see something different is that we are very honest. We're personal relationship based. I'm known as a handshake guy. I make a deal with you. I don't read straight up. I shake your hand. Everybody knows we're done. I have an, I've developed a very good reputation, and I don't let anybody chisel away at it. My reputation means a lot to me. People come to us, and they come to me because they know who I am. They know they'll be treated fairly. They'll know they'll be treated honestly, and I'm going to tell them exactly what I think. And I think that is a recipe for success. So I use that in my daily basis.
Great. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, because so many CEOs are like presidents. I think once you get to that director level, where like you're in charge of I forget. I don't know if you told me how many people are under in your firm.
About 60 that are actually in the firm.
60. Yeah,
and that's because we're developers. We have this big, huge net that we spread out with contractors, tenants, probably do several hundred leases in a year's time.
Wow.
Through about 15 brokers that are on pretty aggressive activities. We'll then develop 50 to 70 triple net asset projects. So the net is really, really big. My role is to transition the brokerage companies and attach it to the development company so that we can have these smooth processes in order to be economically sound for us and the folks that were involved.
Yeah, I know. So like, I can only imagine your emails and your phone calls and meetings all day, right? Like that's why like having an open door policy, I think is really important as a CEO. And then just having that time to be able to like actually take someone in, like if they come knocking at your door and saying like, hey, you have 5 minutes, right? Because like before I went on my own myself, I was like a bunch of like corporate tax firms, right? So now 15 years later, of doing taxes, of course, like I'd gone through my firms, but it was tough. No, it's definitely tough to be able to get some one-on-one time with the president or the CEO of any organization or directors at that point, because everyone's so busy. Everyone has so many tasks to complete and get done, right, to push the organization forward. So yeah, that approach I think is really important, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think every CEO or president or managing director has an open door policy.
Well, ours is certainly that. And for me, the human side of it all, what we do for a living every day can be difficult. There's just like anybody's business, it's never easy. There's always some nights where you've got your head in your hands saying, hey, what's going on? How do I fix it? But if you employ the human side of it all, then that people understand that and they want to share that. And so that's something that one of my mentors recently, in fact, he was the managing director at Colliers while I was there. The human side of him, I really enjoyed our talks together that he and I would have, because he had this humanity to him that made everything like, made work a little easier and then made life a lot better. So you've got to have that human component as well. And Hispanics, we're a lot of giving us a hug,
Yeah.
Hey, that's okay. That's part of our culture.
Hey, say good morning to me in the morning. Yeah, no, I get you. Like, I might be getting my coffee, but, I acknowledge that we both just walk in and we both need coffee right now, but buenos dias. Buen dia.
There needs to be the cultural side of humanity inside of an office that is, fast moving, has a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
You just don't want to miss that. You can't just have fast moving, all the moving parts all the time. You got to bring some humanity to it. So our whole company tries that. It's a small, in terms of compared to a Colliers, or compared to a lot of other big three real estate firms.
Yeah.
We do a really interesting culture.
Oh, so you know what? Going back to I know right now I thought about this earlier and I just remember right now too. So like for any young person that wants to become a real estate agent and they're Hispanic or Latino, Latina, and they want to join, is it still a good time to join? Because it almost seems like every person out there wants to become a real estate agent, right? Like it seems like a lot of like young individuals are like, I'm just going to go get my real estate license. Is it a good time to join the field, especially with like, we'll talk about this a little bit more later about interest rates. They're so high. And like the field? Is it saturated? Like, do you guys take on like new real estate agents and stuff like that?
Absolutely. In fact, my investment team just brought on a young lady, incredible young lady, and she's just fresh out of college. She's has her license, and we brought her on board. My partner, John Jackson, he and I've been partners for over a decade, and we brought her on board into our investment to help us kind of bridge the gap because of things that we needed to do as I was stepping out into the role that I'm taking for Diversified Partners, and my team came with me from Colliers. We brought this young lady in for putting her through some kind of a training program to where she can really be a resource for us, and that so she can reap the benefit of it economically for herself as well. And in the past, one of the other companies that I actually ran a training program, a weekly training program, where I would bring in 4 or 5 folks per year, and then I'd run them through a year-long training program about what it takes, what the requirements are, and what it looks like to become a commercial real estate agent, because it's way, way different from the residential side. It has a lot more components to it, maybe a little bit more factual based and not so much emotional based as someone buying a home, as someone trying to establish themselves in business. I believe that there's great opportunities for Hispanic. Once again, the market's getting bigger. It is growing as fast or faster than any other one that's out there. So in order to keep pace with that, companies are going to have to take a look at how that's going to work for them. So, like I said, we have a pretty young team over there. Very few, we only have 3 or 4 brokers that are over 40 years old. We have a bunch inside at 25 to 35, and they're so open to gathering new methods and fine tune their own activities. Keeping their knife sharp. On a daily basis, they do an incredible job. Each one of those teams has at least one Hispanic in those teams, and they've all been really in the market for for over 10 years. And 3 years back, he put the full court press on me and said, "You got to do it." I said, "Well, this is what it looks like. This is what it can be." And he told me 3 things. He said, "I want my firm bigger, better, and stronger. And I know you can do it." And so bigger on the side of more brokers, better to fine tune their operation because they had an amazing format already and template. They just needed some additional help. And then stronger. How do we get stronger in the market? How do we take more market, get a larger share of the market itself? And that was the direction I was given. And so that's the direction I'm taking. I want to build a bigger brokerage firm. I want to make it stronger. I want to create opportunities for our company and for our brokers that are involved, and then that will affect our development opportunities as well. Adding the investment component to Diversified Partners, because they didn't have one, was a critical point in the negotiations between myself and my team and coming over there. And that completes the circle of real estate that the Diversified Partners does not have. We have an investment team, and so we're going to really complete the circle of real estate. So super, super important.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to ask you, in looking ahead in 3 or 5 years, what is your ultimate vision for the firm, right? So you just touched on that. What if you had to say, I'm taking it from point A to point B, what would be point A and what's point B, right?
The culture and the business that they had created, the platform that they created, very strong, very well known, very well respected today. When I took it over, and then if the growth that I'm expecting and I'm hoping for and that I'm looking for by the year would probably be to add 3 or 4 brokers. So if you have 15 and you add 3, that's a fairly large percentile. And then every year to continue to do that. And then say in 5 years, that would put us, maybe 30 active brokers. And that would then increase our listing base from say 250 to 270 currently to someplace in the mid 300s, maybe 400, and then have that ability to have a much larger third party component to it, meaning that having our brokers go out and bring in other owners and other tenants that we can then represent and put into our portfolio and a profile. That's what would be my goal over the next, 3 to 5 years, to increase it at that level at maybe 15 to 20% growth on the
Okay.
brokerage side, which will then turn into an economic value. Probably it's a little higher than so that's
And then,
what I'm hoping for. It's a big ask.
yeah.
So you have a lot of great brokers in the Phoenix market that we do business with, and then trying to convince them to come over and be part of our team. So that's going to take a lot of effort from not only myself, but also from our team members, because our team members, they're dealing with those brokers every day. So they're out there, hey, we're doing a deal over here. How's your club treating you? Have you ever thought about working for a group like ours? You're better off. So
And I do have to clarify, you're saying brokers, right? So brokers are different than licensed real estate agents?
in the commercial world, we call the agents brokers. There'll be a percentage of them that have a different license. It's just a name yours. So we have about 25 agents that work for us right now, but about 15 of them are like riding away 8 to 5
Yeah.
every day. And some of the other ones are more seasoned and they have a different approach to it.
Okay.
One of the things that's interesting about commercial real estate is there's not just one approach that does well for everybody. There's a variety of approaches.
Oh no, and I'm glad you clarified that because like I guess like traditionally what we hear or like just in what was it, residential real estate. I was like, what's the word? Residential real estate. We hear that brokers are the ones that real estate agents are underneath brokers. So in my mind, I was starting to think that you wanted like more more brokerage firms underneath your firm. So
No,
but it works differently in the commercial field. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So all right. No, that's good. Thanks for clarifying that. So then tell me about so this one. I had this question. This is a very important question. What opportunities exist for Latino investors or entrepreneurs that want to enter the commercial real estate scene?
Oh, that's a great question because those doors are wide open. So folks that want to invest in real estate, at whatever level that is, in the commercial side,
Okay.
there is so much opportunity. They will have the same opportunities that everybody else, except for when they target, if they want to be in a deeper Hispanic market, they have a distinct advantage because they're culturally attached. And so they will see that maybe they're kind of opening up. So, big item in the Hispanic market is the quinceañeras, right? And so you have families that are entrepreneurial. Maybe they've been leasing a building to run their event, but now they want to transition into the ownership. And so they realize that hey, they need 10,000 feet for their business, but they're going to buy a center that's 15,000 square feet, and they're going to be able to place 3 or 4 tenants inside of that. And all of a sudden, they go from leasing a product, owning a product, and now they're a landlord. And so that opportunity is open to anybody that's out there. Lending has been an issue for us all. Of course, you had mentioned, we discussed some of that earlier. It's been an issue for us all, but it's an issue for everybody. It's not specific to any one group. It's specific to the overall environment, real estate. I think we're going to see some corrections in that over the next year. But there's so many opportunities, and for Hispanic folks, folks that we represent a group that is a 8 or 10 or 12 Hispanic drive-throughs. They're incredibly profitable. They're folks that run them incredibly smart, and they fine tune that operation, and they won't just put that drive-through in the area that's 65% Hispanic. They're out there, they're out there off the street corner for everybody, and they're making an incredible income for their families, and then their families start to expand. Well, you see the father, turn over 3 or 4 of those. This just recently happened to us.
Yeah.
With us, we saw the father turn over 3 or 4 of his stores to his daughter and son-in-law, and then they want to get involved in one of their developments to have a brand new one, and they're targeting a completely different market. So the opportunity, those doors, opportunity for Hispanics, wide open. Owners to buy properties, to buy projects, and also to open up their own businesses. It is wide open. It's unrestricted, and there's a lot of opportunity out there for it.
Okay. I mean, so needless to say, like if someone does want to enter the Hispanic market when it comes to commercial real estate or anything like that, they should be contacting you, right, Stan?
Certainly.
You can guide them in the right direction.
Old proverb for myself that I call everybody back. You leave a message for me. I don't care if you say you're calling and you want to do something at one of the centers, because you don't know that if the person on the other end of that is Sam Walton's grandson, right? So he's the grandson of Sam Walton, and you don't call him back, you've made a mistake. So I call everybody back, and I preach that to my brokers. That you don't know what's going to happen next. Our world is unknown at every step of the way. So make sure you're treating everybody the same.
All right. I like that approach because nowadays people don't even return text messages or emails back, right? So my approach is always respond to all my clients' emails. So like one of the biggest pain points in my industry is that a lot of accountants don't get back to their clients. It's a pain point because like there's a lot of work in our industry, and there's, accountants just get really busy at one point. But so yeah, I try to be true to that too as well. So thanks for that. So yeah, but you know what? We've reached our last question that I have for you. But with the competitive landscape in commercial real estate, and with the continued growth of e-commerce space, what strategies does your firm have or is implementing for long-term like asset performance and relevance? Because about people starting up businesses and it's online, like social media, Instagram, TikTok, and stuff like that. And now they have e-commerce websites like Shopify and stuff like that that are being, marketed really aggressively to these like TikTokers and Instagrammers, influencers. So how are you guys working with that landscape right now? Is the commercial physical building gonna die? This is my question.
They're going to transition. There is something in our industry calling that it's the property is obsolete in operational characteristics because maybe it's too old, or where it's located, everything's changed around it, regeneration has taken place. But the buildings aren't going to go away.
Okay.
There are certain items, certain services, that are provided. Can't get your haircut online. Can't get your nails done online. You can't, a plumber is going to need a warehouse to run his business out of. A design studio, you're going to have to staff your design studio. Sure, there's lots of furniture that's sold online, but people want to touch it. They want to feel it. So there's still going to be a very, very hands-on approach to real estate. In the developments, gymnasiums are going to stay in place because people want that interaction. The grocery store, hey, some people buy all their groceries online, but culturally, Hispanics don't like to buy groceries online.
No.
They want that manzana or the latte in their hand.
Yeah.
They want to look at it. They want to go. They want to touch it. They want to feel it. So there will be some reapplication of current building structures, meaning an old shopping center may have to change a little bit. We're seeing more medical applications. The tax world, your world that you're in, I
Yeah.
want to go sit down with my accountant when I go to do my work with him. And so there are certain things that AI is not going to be able to take over. There's certain things that everybody's going to want to continue to do. One thing is the food and beverage industry, right? Yeah, you can have food shipped in, but they still have to have a place to make
Store
it.
make it
And
story.
so
Yeah.
and so that I don't think you're going to get past that era, So you're going to need a drive-through. People want to get a cup of, you want a fresh cup of coffee. You're going to have to go to the drive-through in the morning to grab that to drive to work. And so, and then it's a meeting place too. Hispanics are big about, and this is not just Hispanic, but everybody. They're big about going to socialize while they're doing something. My kids, I drive them crazy. I go to the grocery store, and I run into 3 or 4 people. I've lived in the same neighborhood for 27 years. And so I go to the grocery store and I see it may be the child of one of my friends, but people want that in there. They don't, not everybody just wants to sit at home, hang on the keys, get everything they need. I do not think that it's ever going to go away completely. There's no question. We take a look at that on a regular basis because we pick out the corner. The corner's got the McDonald's, or it's got the Federico's, or it has the Chipotle on the corner, or it's got, the mom and pop coffee shop. And that's what we look to do. And those things then attract people, and then everybody wants to multitask. So, if you're going to go do the coffee or take the family out to dinner, you might want to stop at the grocery store, or you might want to go take a look at an electronics store. So, there's a lot of noise in the world about it's all going away. I don't believe that. We see a whole different world.
No, I appreciate that point of view too, because like nowadays you just hear everything that it's all getting digitalized. But I also do think that, I think you're right. There's times where I go to the stores or, this is my own personal experience where I want to like physically like touch a product or see it versus like just ordering something online. And there's times where I order stuff online and I receive the product and I look at it or I touch it or I interact with it and I'm just disappointed by it. So I'll return it right away. I don't keep anything I'm disappointed with because I spent money on it. And if I spent money on it, that means I had to work to make that money for it, right? So I had to spend 1 or 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours of my life to get that product in my hands. So now I'm very conscious about returning stuff right away if I like don't have it. But yeah, I kind of do a little mix of both. And you're right. There's times where if I feel like I've just been working from home like 5 days in a row, then I'll be like, oh, I need to get out. I need to I'm going to go do some grocery shopping in person.
And that interaction, or it's, hey, for me, like, hey, people on the phone that I had spoke to in a while, and I said, hey, you know what? We got to go grab lunch. We got to catch them. We got some things going on. I want you to be aware of them.
Yeah.
And we could do that same thing, just like this. Get online, get on a Zoom call. But you know what? Go sit down with them, break bread, do whatever you're going to do. I'll take my favorite Mexican food restaurant that I've been going in since 1960. The same family owns it. It means a lot for me to support them. Things that I am big on is the support of the Main Street operations of family-owned business, small businesses. We want to keep that in America. That's America's strength. And so what we don't want is see Wall Street taking over Main Street. Mm-hmm. We want to continue to support and help the Main Street. We want to continue to support them, keep them in business versus Wall Street taking over everything. I actually am involved with my daughter's company. My daughter is a very well-known social media person. She runs a company called Contrarian Thinking. Okay. And the whole premise behind it is Wall Street versus Main Street. And we want to keep Main Street going. Yeah. We want to support all of those because, in a big city, it's a little bit different than in a small community where, you to buy everything online and it's too hard to ship it in, but you can't go down the street and have lunch at a place that your mom and dad did. And that's important. So it is a big deal to support those types of businesses. And those types of businesses can be a McDonald's, they can be a Starbucks, or they can be the small mom and pop coffee unit. They can be the Chipotle, or they can be the family-owned Filibertos, Federicos that we have here, and you have them in Los Angeles. So I don't think that it's all going away. I think that as a group of folks that live in the United States, we need to be very supportive of Main Street and all the folks who make a living doing, your plumber, your air conditioning service guy, the roofer, all of those folks, they can't go away. That's not
Yeah.
going to ever get, replaced. So super, super important to support those folks.
No, I agree with you, Stan. That's really important to support them because they really are the backbone of America. And then they're also the services we employ all the time. I mean, when the faucet goes out, when you need an electrician, a plumber, you need someone. And you're right, they're going to still need a physical place to store their products, the warehousing, their products or their supplies
And the fact that you let us know that you're the industry that you're in, it's not going away, and you're still going to have interaction with someone in order to accomplish those goals that the service.
Oh, yeah.
Super important.
I think I have a mix. So, I mean, the pandemic for me, for my business, really did push a lot of my Hispanic clientele to go virtual, which is, it did the opposite. But that's because of the pandemic. I mean, that really forced a lot of businesses to go virtual, which I kind of think is a plus, especially for like, I don't know, I'll just use like my tias, for example, right? Because I do my whole family's taxes now at this point. But my tias were like, I want to go see you in person. And I'm like, cool, you did that for like 7 years. But like now, I can guarantee you that if you send me your tax documents a week in advance, I work or my employees work on input, then I review my employees' input. By the time we meet, it's a better service that I'm providing to you, which we don't provide to you if you come in person to me and I input all the stuff and you're asking me 10 questions and I'm still trying to do input, but I still need to listen to a question that you're asking me. And then I commit an error because we're like talking at the same time. But I still have a mix of clients that want to come in. So that's why I have a physical location, right? So that's why I'm here. So I have both. But like, yeah, I mean, even for like all my clients out of California, like I have clients in New York, Texas, Colorado, Connecticut, Washington up north and stuff, and so Florida. So they're all over the place. So I wouldn't be able to meet with them in person anyways. But it kind of works actually. So I actually think you're right. I think that moving forward, it would be more of a hybrid work model. And even like my employees, like Fridays, we're not here. I'm like, work from home. Like I trust them so much now at this point that I'm just like, I know they're going to get the work done because I actually heard this NPR segment where like employees are a tiny bit more stressed at home because they know they need to show or that they had produced work for that day or else that privilege of working from home can be taken away from them. So they actually need to now show what they've been working on for that whole day or work from home. So it's very interesting. And I'm like, hey, yeah, like the pandemic really forced people or companies to it really showed companies that hybrid work was a possibility, I think, when before it wasn't. But you're right. There's other businesses like that are just brick and mortar 100% and it's going to stay the way it is. Like you said, like haircut, we need haircuts. Like there's no way that could be brick like virtual at any point, right?
I typically work a little bit every night as well, and that's remote. Or I go on a vacation. I can plug into exactly what we're doing right here. At some point in time, for me and for what we do for a living as retail developers, we want to touch it. We want to feel it. We're going to build them a building. We're going to research some dirt. They're going to put their building on top of something we did. So we have this digital interaction that a lot of companies or a lot of asset classes don't have. I think that's ever going to go away completely. even if you build a big AI center, so you build you facility that can house AI, can do all of those activities, someone's still got to build it. The carpenter's still got to go there. Block mason's got to go there too. So for us, that development freedom, I think, is going to be in place for almost forever. You're not going to be able to get past that. You're going to need someone putting the brick and mortar together, because there's just certain things that are just tied to it. You can't get away.
Well, Stan, thank you so much. This was a pleasure getting you on the show and having this conversation with you. I appreciate your time. And of course, it's very valuable. Again, I can't thank you enough for coming on. But yeah, thank you so much for being on and giving us a bit of your time today.
Well, it's my pleasure to share. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm like I said, we're in a world that there's lots going on, and so you got to take the time out to help other people out. You pay it forward a little bit, you get it back.
Of course, yes. And for all the listeners out there, your information will be in the podcast notes. So like they'll be able to contact you. We'll put your email on your website and stuff like that as well on there. So that's how they'll be able to contact you. But yeah, we'll share all the information with you as well once we're ready to share that.
Have a great day.
Yes, you too. Have a good one. Bye, Stan.
Adios.
Adios.